right, good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar this morning. My name is Chandra Heron, and I am an account manager here at Intellias. I am going to walk you through our agenda, give you a little background about Intellias, and then turn it over to Chad Mitchell. He is the brains behind this payroll automation tool, as well as our founder and president. So what you're going to see today, like I said, I'll give you an intro to Intellias, and then Chad's going to go through some of the key features of our payroll job automation tool and also do a live demonstration for you. And then we will end with some questions. You can either enter those in the chat or raise your hand and we can unmute you. So a little bit about Intellias. We are headquartered in Dallas, Texas. We were established in 1999, so been in business for a while now, and we are an Infor Alliance partner. We started out building applications just like this tool that you're going to see today, and then we kind of evolved into more of a full service offering partner, providing consulting services for both the Infor Lawson products and CloudSuite. We specialize in all areas, HR, financials, supply chain, and we can help you take your V10 products to the cloud, or if you're planning to stay for a little while, this tool will help you just really gain a lot of efficiencies in processing your payroll. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Chad.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about the job automation product, and we're going to be giving a live demonstration on GHR and also S3. What the product does, again, it simplifies your job processing being, a number of sequential jobs that you might be doing in some type of process. Most of this product has been implemented heavily in payroll, because payroll being an arduous task in Lawson, running all these different jobs, our clients have seen a great operational efficiency by implementing it in the S3 space. We are now also implementing it in GHR as well. It's going to run all of your jobs sequentially from a single user interface, deliver your jobs timely and accurately. It goes through and adds, submit, and runs unique jobs, and these unique jobs being unique job names, so that we can track the payroll progress. We can have a history of the different payrolls that were run or whatever jobs processing that you've done. And also the product allows you to build unlimited automation. So again, a lot of our clients have implemented this for payroll, and then also, AP check runs has been another a heavy process that the product has been implemented against as well. And then we also have some ancillary types of processing that the product has been implemented as well, and I'll show you those in here in a minute. So why do clients implement job automation? So we have a number of our clients on the call today that are running our S3 product today. They can attest to that. It is very simple and easy to use, very self-evident. It's going to reduce your operating costs, increase your productivity. The application's adding all of the different jobs to the system with the parameters, so the user no longer needs to key in that information into the screen, which is going to eliminate data errors possibly, reduce the amount of time that it takes to run a payroll, reduce your staff time, and it also is very easy for us to do a deployment on our client systems. Our typical implementations take 3 to 4 weeks. Most of our clients have seen a great return on investment from the product. Most of them seeing that return in less than a year, and most of them seen this in both the reduction in payroll times that it takes, and then also moving your personnel to different tasks instead of having them, add, submit, run jobs in the Lawson system. They can actually concentrate on data or be redirected to different tasks within the organization. This is a number of clients that have implemented our application over the years, and most of these clients are still actually running the application. They implement the history of job automation. We actually developed this product back in 2001 and have been basically chugging along ever since, implementing this in all sorts of different clients in both the healthcare, retail, and also K through 12. So I talked earlier about what types of automations clients implement this against. So with payroll, payroll run automation, some clients have actually implemented this on the supply chain, the purchase order, AP, and then IC. We also seen clients implement this for GL close at the end of the month. Other clients that are running the ACBR system for invoicing, tying together all of those screens together or those jobs together into simple automation. And then AP check run, you have 5 different jobs that you might be running in an AP check run, all different in different parameters being inputted into those screens. Very easy to now run AP checks. And then we've seen clients also implement this for LP processing as well. So as you know, running a payroll in S3, I'm going to talk both. I'm going to go interchangeable between S3 and GHR today. In S3, you have to go through each one of these different forms, jobs, enter the information, hit submit, wait till it's completed, go to the print manager, check your payroll checklist, go to the next job, and you're going to have to do that with 20 or more Lawson forms. A lot of our clients actually do this with over 100 Lawson forms in jobs to complete a payroll. And so our solution is basically a web form. These are keys in the information that is only pertinent for that particular payroll. They hit submit, and it's going to go and run all the different jobs sequentially. It's going to stop different places in the automation to allow for users to verify data and then continue on. The management of these different breakpoints is all done with our benefit designer that I'll be showing here shortly as well. So what you just saw is the S3 view. This is the actual GHR view of the job automation. Again, very similar, but what you'll see the key differences in the product is that really in GHR, things are no longer called jobs, they're actions. And so you can see these are the actions that will be running for a particular payroll. Also with our product, again, what I discussed is what we call the designer. The designer allows for clients to have autonomy over their changes to their automations moving forward after we get done implementing, or they can create new automations as well. All right, so I'm going to go and show a demonstration, two live demonstrations on the GHR system, and then actually, I'm going to show S3 first, and then I'll show the GHR system. So we're going to go ahead and share. All right, you see our S3 system. On your screen, I have some time records that we keyed into the system prior to this demonstration so that we could run an actual payroll. So on the left-hand side, you see bookmarks. These bookmarks are basically, we have the top bookmark, which is the job automation, and this gives you access to everything. You can do a segregation of duties and deliver the product with different bookmarks, payroll automation, AP automation, and then within that you have the different bookmarks of running the payroll. For those that are actually running it, you can pull up history payrolls if you want, or you can, as maybe an outside department, click on status to watch a payroll complete to see where they're at and then have access to all the different reports. So today I'm going to actually go through and run a payroll. So I would click on payroll, run. So the user would key in, the company, maybe the check date, any other pertinent information, deduction cycle. Again, I'm going to be running in this demonstration a very simple payroll. Most of our clients' payrolls are way more complicated than what I'm showing today in this particular demo, but it gives you an idea of how the product will work. So I'm going to key in again, just a period end date, deduction cycle, check date, hit continue. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get a list of all the jobs that will run with a radio button to select where you want to start the process. Again, we do this, if you might not run everything in one day and you have to close out the browser, you can come back in and, select the next point. Or maybe the browser crashes or something happens. You can come back in and select the starting point of where you were last. So I'm going to select the very beginning, hit continue, and the process is going to go through add, submit, and run each of these steps. You can see we're creating a unique job name for the particular job so that we don't overwrite all the information from previous jobs. So this controls that I can have a full history of payrolls that I can look back and see what was run or any of the data as well. Some of these jobs might need an existing job name be defined because of job def. You might need to be pulling a CSV file in from a PR 530. And so we have the ability to specify what the job name is so that can happen. After each one of these jobs is run, it can do all sorts of other things. It can send out email notifications. It can email out the reports. It can actually scan the actual PRT files and pull out data out of those PRT files and actually do an analysis. So some of our clients will look at maybe the total gross wages out of the PR, or the net wages out of the PR 140, and then look at the PR 160 to see what the total ACH was and make sure that that's reconciled. Our application can do that. So you can also, as a user, click on any of these reports. You don't need to go to the print manager to go pull of those reports. It's all available from the payroll automation screen. The application is going to go through and stop at a breakpoint. So we're going to, and then allow us for additional data validation. Again, these breakpoints are set up in the designer product, so I can specify wherever I want the user to verify before it goes on. So you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and continue this payroll. And it's going to run steps 12 through 27 and continue on. What I'm going to do now, let's see, as that's running, is pull up, let's see if I can pull up from this screen. All right. I'm going to pull up the designer to show some of that functionality, and then what we'll do is do a GHR payroll. As that's pulling up, you can see we're going through and still processing. All right, so what I'm looking at, I went to the portal, and then I'm looking at the Job Automation Designer. And you define all your automations that you want. You can see right here, I have all of these automations in the system, AP, payroll, all sorts of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate just some of the little functionality behind the designer. So first thing I got to do is I got to go define all the different jobs that will actually run. So you can see here, I'm going to run the BN150. And within the BN150, I'm going to specify how the different fields in that BN150 are going to be populated with what value they're going to be populated. Is it going to be a string value, or is it going to be something that the user keys in? So you can see, there's a number of things that the user would key in as a variable in the front screen to then, then populate that job and run. We can also manipulate the value of before populating that field. And what we do that is we do that with what we call functions, and all of this resides inside the designer as well. So for instance, I need to, I'm going to be populating this batch number. I'm going to be using the process level to do it in some kind of fashion, and I'm going to apply what we call a function, manipulate that process level, put whatever anything around the process level to identify as for the batch, and then populate that batch number. So that's kind of how the designer works, is that we're going to go define all the jobs that are going to run, the fields that will be used, the values that will be running, the values that will be populating those fields, if I might be manipulating the value prior to populating the field as well. Once I define the jobs that will actually be running in an automation, then I would go to the run setup, and under the run setup, you can see this is the sequential order that the actual jobs will run in. So I have a sequential order. Then you also have all sorts of runtime criteria. Like for instance, I'm going to run this PR135. We have this verify if it's successful if you want to continue on. So the application will verify that it was a successful add, submit, and run. It will, like for instance, this LP140, if it's something that is interfaced against the PR00, then we can actually set that as hey, we want to verify that the PR00 doesn't have any errors with that particular job. So we can set that as true. We can run, is it truly a Lawson job? That might be something that maybe it's not a Lawson job. Maybe it's an actual script. So we can actually run scripts in here as well. In scripts being, hey, I want to, reconcile maybe the data between the PR140 and the PR160. So that might be a script that is run for that. Runtime conditions for running. So for instance, like this PR195, if it's a last monthly payroll that I want to, and it's set to yes, then it's going to run these particular jobs as well in the stream. So I can run certain jobs on certain conditions. Scroll over a little bit. Here is where, running a PR530, I want to use an actual specified job name. So that's going to be a job name that, predetermined. If I don't do this, it's going to create the jobs via our unique algorithm. We also have what we call user verify. This is where we set up the breakpoints in the application before continuing on. So that's where you can, this breakpoint over here, you see, that's where that is all set. Also with the application, we have what we call pre-job and post-job functions, so things that might happen before a job actually runs. So here we have what we call, get bank files. So I'm going to go grab the bank file in Lawson Infor, grab the check number and receipt number, and populate those into the PR160. So the user no longer has to do that. We have also what we, some examples of some post-job functions is we basically are stopping the application to require approval before it continues on. If I need to run one job multiple times with different parameters, we have what we call arrays. So I can actually hit this, like if I was going to run this custom job for maybe process levels, different process levels, and I don't, so I would set it to true, and I would store the different process levels in what we call this array in the application, and it's going to run that ZP134 multiple times for an array. And then what we also have is post calls. On the post calls, what we have here, if I pull that up, take a second. What we have is the ability to email. We have the ability to send off reports. We can do analysis. So here we have an example of an analysis. So I'm actually looking at the PR195, I'm scraping it for this analysis, and then I'm basically grabbing the total underneath the PR195. And I'm going to do something with that later on down in the automation. I'm going to reconcile it against something or so forth. So it's very smart in that way where it can actually do things that a payroll processor might do right now in validating reports, and the application will then can actually do it. All right, so that's kind of a taste of the job automation in S3, both the designer and then actually running it in the actual job automation engine. As you can see here, this payroll is now complete, and that's how simple a payroll can be in the S3 space and what most of our clients have seen over the years. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to transition to GHR, and I'm going to show the GHR application. So all right, I'm going to go ahead and just share just this browser so it makes it a little bit bigger for everybody. Maybe. Maybe not. All right, let me try it again. No, all right. We'll just share the monitor. All right, GHR. So I have some time records in the GHR system, and what we're going to do is actually process these through the job automation. I have a very simple job automation that for processing this particular these time records. I think we have like maybe 10 or so actions that are going to be processed, actions being synonymous with jobs in the S3 space. So what you see here is the Intellias application residing inside the AWS. It's in the cloud, and this AWS then talks to the Infor tenant through AWS as well. So you can see here I have my bookmarks and I have my automation. We'll go through the actual designer here in GHR in just a minute. But what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to run this particular payroll. So we're going to hit run. And while that's loading, let's see, our check date's going to be a 2/7. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and select my automation. And it's very similar to the S3. Select what is pertinent for that particular payroll. Oops. And again, like I said, it's very simple in the fact of the number of actions that we're running. Now, I'm going to demonstrate one that we're implementing right now in the cloud for a client, and what we're doing, with running all sorts of additional reports in the application. So on this one, we're going to just go ahead and select the start. Now, jobs being, synonymous with action, these are actual actions inside the GHR space. So we're going to go ahead and first assign taxes, very similar to like a PR-113, PR-115. And the application will go through, assign taxes. You can see I'm going to jump back and forth You can see an async in GHR at this point. That it's running those particular actions, assigning the tax deductions. Takes a few minutes for that to complete, and it's going to go to the next particular job. While that's running, you can see here, I'm gonna open up another window, because what I want to do is I want to go to the designer. So, and just give a little bit of a introduction to that. Now you can see I logged in, and then what it's asking me is, can I actually, our application then goes and asks for authority to then talk to the M4 AWS instance. All right, let's see, make sure, okay, that's still running. All right, so in the AWS, so we'll talk about, the same type of functionality within the S3 space, but again, what we're talking now, instead of jobs, really, we're talking business classes and actions inside the M4 GHR system. Again, but what we're doing is populating the fields with certain values. It might be a variable that the user keys in. It might be a hard value string. We might be modifying it in a certain format prior to populating it into the actual field into that business class with that particular action. So I have a number of actions that we set up in business classes for this particular payroll. All right, just kind of monitor that because I have a number of breakpoints here. I have to actually continue the application. So again, now imputed income calculations, and then what we're going to do is a time record batch release. We're going to jump back over to the GHR side. And you can again see this is where I'm going to define all the business classes and the actions that will be used with the values that will be used to populate the fields within those particular actions. All right, and then once we define all the different actions and business classes, then we're going to define the order that they will run. So here's the order that they're running in. So again, we still call it job ID inside of our job automation, but then we got business class, the action that will run. We have conditional run variables. So if that conditional run variable of like, hey, I want to run the accrual is set to yes, then it's going to run this particular business action as well. We have other things that we're doing here in checking either async when it's completed, or maybe we're checking the payment schedule. This is very similar to the PR00, making sure that these were completed correctly before they continue on. We don't have to actually run it as a Lawson job. It might be not a Lawson job, or it might be just a report. So what you'll see here in an example here, I'm going to show one of our clients, Baycare, in which we're running a ton of different reports for them. One of the benefits you do get with the GHR job automation functionality is the reports that are created. These reports, we automatically, when we run this action, we actually kick off the report as well. So we might release the batch, but hey, you want the report created. If you have to, if you're running in GHR vanilla and you don't have the automation, well, you have to go go look at your data set, click print, where you want to print it, the format, and where maybe the print distribution. Here, it's going to automatically kick this off for me. So you can see this report is completed. I can have access to that report of those time records. So very similar to like a PR135, we can put these reports wherever we need to run. Maybe you're running deduction reports or all sorts of things. And I'll show an example of one of our clients and what they're doing here. And that's, again, one of the besides it just being automated, running the different actions and what the fields and the values and all that, so you don't make mistakes, this report generation is something that's a huge win because, again, because the user doesn't have to go do that. If I jump back to, for instance, my print manager, what you'll see is that print manager already created that particular time record report. You can see right here. So it's creating those reports for me automatically instead of me having to go do that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hit continue. What you see here is I'm just kicking off some IPAs. So it'll kick off an IPA and then kick off another one to run it. Just an example of functionality that the application will do. And then it's gonna hit the next action, which is calculate overtime. Again, so we can actually stack up a bunch of IPAs, to do different things within the application as well, verifying when the IPA is completed before going on. All right. So I'm going to let that, this should run this. Okay, now we got the calculate overtime. Shouldn't take too much longer. As that's running, jump back over here, and you can see here, again, we're going to produce certain print files, and to do that, we have what we call functions. We actually create the print file by running a function, and we're actually submitting that in async. We can do a lot of those. Again, we have the same type of functionality. We have the user verify, so stoppage points within the application before continuing on. We have what we call pre-job functions. Again, we're actually going and grabbing the bank file, grabbing what the next receipt, next check numbers are before we continue on as well. All right, jumping back over to GHR, the job automation. Now what we have is we're locking the payroll, and then we'll be calculating the payments. Jumping back over to the job automation designer to finish our demonstration here. While that's running, again, we have these pre-job functions or post-job functions, things that have to happen before or after a business action class was completed. So let's see where this is. Now we're calculating payments. While that is calculating payments, I'm going to just show a quick tour of not a live, but a implementation that we're doing, Baycare out in Florida. And you can see here, I'm going to jump into the designer first. In the designer, we have a lot more actions that we're running. You can see here they have like 40 different batch releases that they're running. So we go and release all those batches. They run the missing time record report. They run a one-time deduction arrears automation. They're going to calculate overtime, lock payroll, calculate payments. Some other differences that you'll see is if I scroll up here, you see this time reports. So we can actually do like kick off a report. So not just an action, we can actually kick off a report. And this is kind of like your PR 135. So we're going to kick that off. If you notice, this Lawson job, it's not really a Lawson job. It's not really an action. It's a report. So we're going to actually flag it as report. And then it'll just go to the print manager and run that particular data. So again, and what you'll see here, I'm going to scroll down a little bit more. In the GHR side, you have, for instance, the payment register. We're going to kick those actions off. Those are actually reports as well. So, but that's like running the PR 162. We're going to run it for regular PDF and CSV, kick those off, and we're going to actually print off the checks. We're going to send all the payments to ION, then we're going to close the report, close payroll in report mode, and then we're going to do it in update mode, and then we'll post the payroll. Then we'll run all these other reports that the company, the business needs. So we're going to run, different deduction class reports, deduction code reports, and all that will be sitting in either the print distribution or maybe the user's own print bucket. So, all right, let me jump back to, that's just a quick demonstration. I'll jump back to Bake here in just a minute. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hit continue, print checks, and close out this particular GHR payroll. So let's just say that I wanted to run a Baycare payroll. Now, I don't have any data in here, but what I'll show you is kind of how it looks like. And today's date, 25th, continue. And you can see here is what their GHR implementation looks like. So running like a PR 135, assigning taxes, approved to batch time records, releasing all of those batches, running a missing time report, one-time deductions, calculating zero, calculating overtime, locking the payroll, calculating payments, absent management calculations. And then when it's all done, it's going to run, all the different deduction class and code reports as well. So it's kind of an example of a live implementation. I think they're going live this summer. All right, jumping back to the actual demonstration demo system, you can see here we're going to the final stages of closing out payroll. We got, I can again click on any of these reports, very similar to the S3 side where I have full access to it. Viewing payments, checks. Here you can see I'm not sending to ION. We need to add those steps to our demo. But and what you see here in this is this action is still running. This is grayed out. I can't click on it yet. As soon as it's not grayed out, it's completed. So, and then I will click continue and close out this GHR payroll. So again, in the GHR space, that's how easy payrolls can be as well. So, all right. I'm going to, at this point, see if anybody has any questions. Bear with me. There we go. Okay. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand. You can ask those questions, or you can do that in the chat window. So. All right. Almost finished with this payroll. Great. All right. Thank you, Connie, for your comments. Yes, Connie with Children's Medical of Dallas, Children's Health. They have been using our S3 product for, I think, 10 plus years and have moved to GHR and are implementing now. So thank you for joining us, Connie. Hopefully you guys are going to be implementing our product in GHR. Again, my apologies to those that couldn't get the sound working at the beginning. Glad we got that worked out. If you guys have any questions, you can feel free to reach out to myself or Chandra, and we can get back to you. Any questions on the S3 side? If you're still in running S3, version 10, we can still implement. I know that the S3 product will still be available through 2030. And so great time to, streamline your S3 system. If you are moving to GHR, again, you can see how easy the product is once you implement. And You can greatly improve your efficiencies in your operations and kind of be a hero at your organization. All right, we have recorded this webinar, so we'll be sending this out to everybody. So if there isn't any other questions, we will end it a little early. Again, thank you for joining us today, and have a great day.